Hi, I'm Paul Pasolka, Ivy Masters Learning Center at ivymasters.com. And today we're going to look at Test 3, Section 1, number 11, which reads, what function does the third paragraph, lines 20 to 34, serve in the passage as a whole? So, in the passage as a whole, you've got to make sure you get some context here. So we're going to go back to the passage, and I've already highlighted some important main points in the paragraphs before and after so we could get a context without wasting too much time on this question. So first of all, the blurb is always a good idea to read. Up here, strap hangers, saving our cities and ourselves from the automobile. So saving our cities and ourselves from the automobile, it sounds like the automobile is a bad thing. And a strap hanger, remember when you're riding the subway, a strap hangs down. So strap hanger is a reference to those who travel by public transportation. In the opening paragraph, it says the vast majority of us relies on public transportation rather than a privately owned car. Second paragraph, public transportation is how most of people of Asia and Africa, the world's most populous continents, travel. And private car ownership is still an anomaly, which means it's not, it's an irregularity, something peculiar, abnormal. So most people travel by public transport rather than a private automobile. And then we get to the paragraph itself. And yet, public transportation in many minds, and notice it starts with and yet, so we know that this paragraph is going to be different than what was said before it. Many minds, public transportation is the opposite of glamour, a squalid last resort for those with too many impaired driving charges, too poor to afford insurance, or too decrepit, which means literally, if you trace the word back, it means bones that creak, too old to get behind the wheel of a car. In much of North America, they're right, taking transport is a depressing experience. Anybody who has waited far too long on a street corner for the privilege of boarding a lurching, overcrowded bus or wrestled luggage onto subways and shuttles to get to a big city airport knows that transit on this continent tends to be underfunded, ill-maintained, and ill-planned. Given the opportunity, who wouldn't drive? Hopping in a car almost always gets you to the destination more quickly. Okay. So we see there's an argument. Notice what it mentions specifically is North America. There's an argument that North America, it seems like a privately owned automobile is a benefit. And now we go to the next paragraph, getting the context of the whole thing. It doesn't have to be like this, done right. Public transportation could be faster, more comfortable, and cheaper than a private automobile. In Shanghai, German-made magnetic levitation trains. And then French towns have electric-powered streetcars. From Spain to Sweden, you have Wi-Fi. Latin America, China, and India, dedicated busways leaving the stands and SUVs in traffic jams. So it sounds like in all those places, other places around the world, traveling by public transportation is better. Then it also talks about the millennials, younger professionals. They're far more willing than their parents to ride buses and subways. You can get some serious texting done when you're not driving, and then when you retire, you might favor older cities and compact towns where they have the option of walking, riding bikes. Seniors more likely to use transit, and then concluding, European and Asian cities show that if you make buses, subways, and trains convenient, comfortable, fast, and safe, a surprisingly large percent of citizens will opt to ride rather than drive. And so the third paragraph seems like it's the exception to the argument in the rest of the paragraph. Let's see what matches that. Answer choice A, it acknowledges that practice favored by the author has some limitations. That actually looks good because it seems like the author favors public transportation, but does admit that in North America, it's not as good. So he actually says over here, who wouldn't drive, and is the paragraph about North America. Answer choice B, it illustrates with detail the arguments made in the first two paragraphs of the passage. Actually, we saw that that paragraph begins with yet, so it's saying actually the opposite of what was stated in the first two paragraphs, that cars are better in some places of the area, some places of the world. Answer choice C, it gives an overview of the problem that has not been sufficiently addressed by the experts mentioned in the passage. Well, I don't really see any experts mentioned in that passage. It seems like the author is himself kind of taking the reins and dictating the content of that passage. Answer choice D, it advocates for abandoning a practice for which the passage as a whole provides mostly favorable data. We don't really get data here. I mean, you get some numbers on how many take public transportation versus driving a car, but it's not saying you should. That paragraph is not really saying that you should abandon your cars in North America. The argument is more for building better public transportation in North America, and then it sounds like the rest would naturally follow. People would take that rather than drive a car. Thank you for joining us today. If you like this video, click like. You could share it with someone who has trouble with these line references. The function question, what function or what does this paragraph serve to do? If you'd like to see any question answered from any official PSAT or SAT or ACT, you can leave that in the comments as well. And click subscribe so you don't miss anything. Have a great day.